The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a phonic.
Good evening and welcome back. This is Lowe's Moore and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm excited to be with you guys. I'm going to slide this over a little bit here so you guys can hear me a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. And hey, seems like we are officially in fall, right? I mean, the weather, even though it was very nice today, it's very nice yesterday, but it was fall, right? It got that fall feeling. I saw some of the leaves when I was walking starting to fall off the tree. Colors of the leaves are starting to change. Man, isn't God good? I mean, he gives us these change of seasons. And they're powerful and they all have purpose. So but again, I'm excited to be back with you. And man, I was talking a little bit earlier. I did a summary, right, of the last couple of podcasts, right? We were officially at the end of the WABA season, and we had the podcast with with Marsha and Brian. And Marsha's the CEO, and Brian's one of the directors of the WABA and in charge of officials. Seemed like he was in charge of a whole bunch of different things. But and you know what, Brian, let me just say this up front. Brian could talk. I mean, he was doing all of the announcements. Along with Tyrone, they were doing all the announcements of the games and of the three-point shooting contest, the All-Star game, and the skills competition. They were talking the whole time. I didn't know why at the end their voices wasn't sore, right? And so, but I truly enjoyed, seeing the evolution of the WABA over the last 6, 7, 8 years, I think, that they've been in existence. They continue to grow. And I was saying this a little bit earlier, right? Which prompted this show. That this year, 2024, I've actually watched a lot. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of basketball, right? One of the main reasons is that my daughter and her husband last year was coaching at Stony Brook University, right? And so they had a great season. I've watched Stony Brook over the last 3 years. My wife and I, last year we got season tickets, and so I watched them play. I actually seen some elementary school kids play. I've seen some middle school kids play. I've seen some high school kids play. I've seen a lot of basketball. Then you take on the excitement of high school basketball and the playoffs, and then you got into the NCAA, right? And watching all those games between the men and the women. And I mean, I think my wife loves sports. I love basketball. I like watching football occasionally. Sunday is one of my Sunday things to do. But I think my wife loves baseball too, but it has been a lot of basketball, and I've been talking a lot about basketball, and kind of looking at, just thinking about players of yesteryear, thinking about players of today, right? And I'm just got a little itch for basketball, right? And now we're at the end of the WNBA season. Right, with the Liberty, we all hoping and praying that the Liberty will get. Minnesota have won about 3 or 4 of them things, and I know these young ladies didn't win the championship, but I mean, I would love to see the Liberty win a championship, man, for New York. I mean, that's just me, right? And I just want to see it happen, and so the Liberty's there, and then the NBA season is getting ready to start, and in November we're gonna start all over again. We got a high school, and then we of course we got the pros are coming, the NBA, and then college basketball. Wow, right? Basketball, right? And I don't know if you guys heard me on the podcast on that Saturday morning, but one of my favorite players, Michael Jordan, injured himself, I think, in his second season after being Rookie of the Year. And they were like, man, Michael's such a commodity. Michael's such a valuable person and player, right? When he injured his foot, they were like, look, we can't have this guy play this season. We want him to sit out the season. But Michael loved basketball. So he worked and worked and worked. Man, he was in the pool running in his shoes. I mean, he was doing all kind of therapy, right? And just trying to get himself ready because he had made a promise. Powerful. It's powerful when God makes a promise, God will keep a promise, right? He's not like man, right? Man will make a problem, will give you a problem, a promise, and then all of a sudden can't remember the promise, right? So I'm saying, like, Michael Jordan made a promise that when he got drafted, that every year he was in the NBA, that he would end up, right, that they would make the playoffs. So he got his injury together, and then they put him on a time restriction with 35 games left to go. They were so many games out of first place, not out of first place, but out of making the playoffs, right? And they brought him back for the last 35 against they didn't want to do it. Michael was like, look, I got to play, right? And so what ended up happening is that Michael comes back and they put him on a time restriction, right? And he played hard inside those minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on today. Hopefully my wife will ask me a question about production per minute, right? And earlier today, my wife and my son-in-law and my daughter, they were talking about the data and plus minuses in basketball, right? See, we always thought that when we were doing math had nothing to do with basketball, right? But they were talking about the data, the statistics, the plus minus, and I always talk about production per minute, right? Well, in the time that Michael played, he was so productive, right, that he helped to make his team a playoff, making the playoffs that year. And then once he got into the playoffs, the restrictions was off. And of course, against the Boston Celtics, they in the last place. They played against the Boston Celtics. They lost to the Boston Celtics, I think 4-2, something like that, right? But Michael went crazy. He was off restrictions, and he scored 63 points in a game against the Boston Celtics, which is the all-time playoff high, right? But at the end of the season, Michael's new contract, right, is called the Love of the Game contract, right? That means Michael put it in a stipulation in his contract was that it's called the love of the game clause, that I can play anywhere, anytime I feel like it, I can play. And nobody can keep me from playing. Nobody on the Chicago Bulls, nobody can keep me from playing. I can play all night if I want to, right? It's called the love of the game clause. Well, we love basketball, right? And then we know that, let me say this, that basketball is more than just a game. Sports is more than just a game. It's very powerful. Did you see what happened during the Olympics this year? I mean, man, I don't think there was a war. You remind me if there was a war, but wars have been stopped in order to have competition among countries, right? And that's the power of sports. I mean, sports will cause for what we call diversity. Sports will cause for equality. Sports will help to drive equality, right? And sports is just powerful. So is entertainment. There are a lot of things, but so is entertainment. But one thing about sports, it brings people together, right? And so, and I love basketball. So I want to talk about a little bit tonight about basketball and life a little bit later on. But I want to say thank you guys. Thank you for your support of the Blueprint Podcast each and every week, man. I love you guys. And if you don't mind, going to Facebook and or YouTube, subscribe and like the Blueprint Podcast. We just want to keep growing, right? We want to keep getting better, right, at doing the Blueprint Podcast. And hopefully like we've done for the WABA, hopefully in the future there will be more live, right? We'll have more live guests in the studio, right? And we'll do more live events. That'd be powerful, and the Blueprint will start to get out there. So again, let me get rolling, man. We got a lot to do tonight, man. I got man. Brian gave me a talking spirit, man, for tonight, and so I got some stuff I need to get out. Something that's been burning inside of me. My goal with basketball was to master it, right? And mastering something doesn't mean that you have to play it, right? That there's a time limit on how long you can play basketball. Although some people, I've seen guys who are 75, 80 years old still playing basketball, right? Still playing 3-on-3 and getting up and down the court because they love the game, right? And so, I love the game. I'm trying to master the game. I tried, because somebody taught me the game, and I'm going to talk about my mentor and Mr. Jones. I'm going to talk about him a lot tonight because somebody taught me how to play the game, and so there have been a lot of people that have given me a lot of knowledge about basketball, and I want to talk about that tonight, and I want to talk about some things that I got coming up, right? So let me start out. Let me even start out because since I got that itch, right? I'm thinking about it. I haven't sealed the deal yet. I'm hopefully want to seal the deal, right? And I'm looking to have. I think there's a flyer up there. I'm looking in November to do 2 clinics. Now I haven't finished confirming this yet, so don't go run out there and say Lowe said he's gonna have the clinic there. But anyway, it's on the flyer, right? And it's Lowe's Moore Global Communications presents Lowe's Moore player development clinic for all levels of coaches. Right? All levels of coaches. Right? And the date I'm looking at is November the 16th. I'm just going to be at 3-hour sessions, a 3-hour session. And don't worry about what you're looking at on the actual screen, because I will be talking a lot about those things that are on the screen right now. You'll hear me talk about them. And then immediately after the coaches, about an hour after the coaches clinic, I'm going to have a player development clinic for players. It's going to be a minimum of 25 coaches, 25 players I'm looking for, because sometimes if you get more than 25, you can't completely, right? I got a visitor here. Dakota, come around here, please. I got a little visitor here, and he's 4 years old. It's my grandson, Dakota, right? And in a little while, if he likes basketball, you like basketball? Mm-hmm. Right? If he likes basketball, his pop is going to start showing him some stuff. Ooh. Right? So, going to take him through some development, right? And give him some basic things, right? So, you like basketball? All right, you going to hang out with Pop?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do some training?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so say hello to everybody.
Hello.
All right, run back upstairs. Run back upstairs. Hurry up. Run back. Don't touch it. Run back upstairs.
See you later. See you later.
See you later.
Pop up a hug.
Give me a hug. Don't push the button because my chair go up. Go.
Go upstairs to see mommy.
Go see mommy. Go see mommy. That's my guest, Dakota. Dakota Croy Maynard. Dakota.
If you're going to say pop up, you got to sit down.
No. All right. Hey, Ray, what's up? Kevin Bunch, what's up? Uh-oh. Got Mrs. Oates in the house.
That's Stoney. That's Stoney.
That's Stoney. What's up, Stoney? Dee Dee. What's up? D, what's up? And so let's get rolling. Let's get rolling here because I got to get my wife in here. But anyway, let's go with the book of the week. The book of the week. Right? From the Boys and Girls Club to the NBA, Life on the Now Road, the Lowesmore Chronicles. Right? Mark Johnson. What's up, Mark? How you doing, man? I think Mark was one of my guys at the club. He had a nice little game too. Right? And so that's the book of the week. Right? I think you may be able to still get it on. I'm right now looking at doing my second launch of my book before the end of the year. Right? I'm looking at my second launch. What's up, cuz?
Ray Boy. So you didn't say Ray Boy.
Ray Boy, what's up? Yeah, we can't just say Ray Jordan. Nobody knows him as Ray Jordan. He's Ray Boy. Right? Hey, WABA. Hey, Lowe's. Enjoyed last week. Thank you. Hey, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed the whole weekend. I enjoyed the ladies. I'm still tired from the weekend, but I enjoyed it. Uh-oh. Is that the Boys and Girls Club in the Bronx? Nah, that's the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon, New York. Although I've been there too and I played there. Right? So let's get rolling. Here's the word. Word or words of the week.
Kevin said he already read that book twice.
Yeah. It's the word of the week is no fear.
No fear.
Right? And in my training, one of the first signs I have up on the wall, I put a bunch of signs up. I put a bunch of stuff all over the walls in preparation for my training. And one of the signs is the first thing when you walk through the door, no fear. Right? My responsibility as a coach, right? Because you can, a person who's in fear, right? A person in fear can never maximize their full potential. They can never reach their peak performance if you play in fear. I've seen a lot of talented players, right? A lot of talented players, right? But when it came to actually in practice, they would be phenomenal in practice, man. Jumping out the gym, scoring shots, hitting free throws, all kind of things. And all of a sudden, you put them in a real game, right? And all of a sudden, fear will hit them. And then the next thing you know, they can't perform. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about no fear. That's the first thing when you walk through the door, no fear. My responsibility is to teach you to make sure that you reach your full potential, right? And if you're just not good enough, you're just not good enough. But it won't be because, right, you were afraid. You want to, and that's the one thing I love about Mr. Jones, right? Right? I've seen Mr. Jones, and me included, right? A lot of players, because he was the first thing. Mr. Jones, this is James Jones. We call him Big Red. Big Red back in the day, because at the end of the game, when we won the game, and we're in the third quarter, and we're usually up by 30 or 40 points, you can't do this anymore, right? He thought he was Red Auerbach. You know, he loved the Boston Celtics. At the end of the third quarter, you know what he ended up? You know what he ended up doing?
What?
He lighted a cigar. Right in the gym, he just lighted a cigar, started smoking. Fourth quarter, go in the fourth quarter, then we knew the game was over, right? But the one thing, Mr. Jones, he would wait to everybody. I'm gonna name some teams: the Telestars, the YMCA, We were on the north side, the south side Boys and Girls Club. All the other players, all the, make sure they had the tryouts, make sure their teams had all their players, right? And then Mr. Jones would pick up their scraps, and he would turn their scraps into good players, right? He would turn their scraps into good players. I've seen him take some players, man, that I didn't think I was that good, and I seen what he did to me, and then I seen all the other players that he just took away their fear, gave them confidence, and taught them the game. First thing in life is no fear, right? That's every day in life. If you're going for a job, you're trying to get into a college, right? Something that you want to accomplish, right? You can have no fear, right? All of it is an opportunity. If you fail, right? If you fail, you get back up and you either try again and figure out that maybe I'm not that good, but you got to find your niche, and you got to find the thing that God, that gift and that purpose in which God has created you for. Once you find it and you have love for it, right? You will be successful in it, right? No fear. That's the number one thing of the night. No fear, right? And then here's my affirmation moment, my Pierce Harper affirmation moment. I took it from my book, right? I took it from my book, Matthew 7th chapter, 13th and 14th verse. It says, wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Right? And the goal here, first, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my mom, to all my aunts, uncles, my grandparents, right? To all my cousins, to all my mentors, to all my coaches, to all my teachers, all those individuals that spoke to me and encouraged me to stay on the narrow road, right? Because you can get on that wide road, and it looks very good on that wide road, right? But it's a challenge to be on that road, right? So I want to say thank you to each and every one as we go forward. And then here's my music and movie of the week, right? McFadden and Whitehead, right? This was our theme song to the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. Yep, that was our theme song when we bust Mr. Jones every game for every team he had. He had 5 or 6 teams. He would paint those big signs with the Sonic and the lightning bolt, and he put it over the door. And every gym we came out of, we would bust through that paper, and then it would be to McFadden and Whitehead, ain't no stopping us now. And that became a mindset that we just couldn't be stopped. Right? And then here's the series that's out on Netflix. No, I think it's on Prime. On Prime, it's called The Chosen. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm starting to look at that now. It's on the life and time of Jesus. Right? Very, I'm enjoying it. It's lining up with the Bible. So I'm really, really, truly enjoying it. So if you haven't checked it out, it's been out for a while now. Make sure you check it out. And then here's my person of the week, right? Nate Tiny Archibald, right? He's one of the guys that I emulated. I emulated a lot of people, right? I just see somebody and I would pull one thing out they like to do. But Tiny, right? He was left-handed, right? And still today, in 2024, Nate Tiny Archibald is still the only person who holds the record for leading the league in scoring and assists in the same season. Right? Nate Tiny Archibald. And if you go to the next picture underneath that one, mm-hmm. right? I got the privilege and the honor to play against my hero, Nate Tiny Archibald. There go me, number 11 in the Nets, and there goes Nate Tiny Archibald with the Boston Celtics, right? Yeah, I got to play. And here's the thing that back in the day, remember we used to have albums? And used to have the little 45s, right? He had a book out. I read that book. I don't know how many times I read that book, but inside that book, he had a little 45 player, record player. It's plastic. I used to put it on the stereo and play it over and over and over again because he would talk about his workouts, his training, everything, right? Everything. And, that's my man, Nate. And then...
Wait, here's a question. Look at
got a question for me? How tall was Nate Tiny Archibald? I am 6'1", maybe 6'2". Nate Tiny Archibald is the same height as me, 6'1" or 6'2".
So he really wasn't tiny. He was tiny to everybody else.
Oh yeah.
In the league.
When I'm near people, right? And when I'm near people, everybody's like, "Oh man, you tall," right? But then when I was in college, there was bigger play. High school, there were bigger players. College, there were bigger players. The pros, they were bigger players. And they say, "Man, that guy's little." But when you walk off the court, you're not that little, right? You're not an average size person. You a little bit better. You a little bit bigger than average.
Now Muggsy, Spud Webb.
They
were little dudes.
Yeah. And even Calvin Murphy.
Calvin Murphy was little.
Yeah, he 5'7". That was big.
I thought he was 5'11". Calvin Murphy.
5'7", 5'8", 5'9". Yeah, he was little. Man, I post him up, man. Let me tell you real quick that story, right? So we're playing against the Houston Rockets, Moses Malone, all those guys, right? You can hear me reminisce a lot tonight. So playing against my first game, Houston Rockets, Moses Malone, Calvin Murphy, all them. I'm guarding Calvin. So
it's 5'9".
5'9".
But he was real. They should give you a couple of inches, right?
Yeah, and like you got heels on your shoes or something, So
ooh, no. There's another one. Look.
So Mike Hammond,
no, Charlie
Chris.
Oh, he was little.
Yeah, Charlie Chris was about 30 years old. Yeah, he was about 5'6", 5'7", right? Made it to the Atlanta Hawks when he was 29 or 30 years old. He made it. He had such energy and such passion for the game.
He was 5'8".
5'8", man. So I'm going to talk about later on. I'm going to be throughout this show. I'm going to be talking about what made those guys. How did those guys at 5'3", 5'4", 5'6", 5'9", right?
That looks like the Celtics.
Yep, that's the Boston Celtics.
And the New Jersey Nets.
Yep, and the New Jersey Nets. And I want to talk about a lot of these things that I'll be talking about tonight. Has a lot to do with the kind of dedication you need, right? Some things that you need to hear. And look, let me say this before I go into all that real quick. I'm not on here to say anybody who's coaching or anybody who's training is doing anything right or wrong, right? I mean, you can pull stuff from any and everybody, right? But sometimes, right, some people have had a unique experience, and sometimes, right, your toolbox is big enough to handle a lot of stuff, right? So I'm just giving you some stuff when I do the clinics for the coaches and I do the clinic for the players, and I'm talking tonight. These are just tools to put in the toolbox, like any toolbox, right? They have every tool has a specific, right? A specific purpose for it, right? You're not going to use a hammer on a screw, right? You're going to use a screwdriver, right? And the reason why I know all that because my father tried to get me to be a mechanic or work on cars, right? But every time he asked me for a tool, I didn't know what that tool meant, and so hey, give me the wrench over there. And I bring him a hammer. I mean, after a while.
You still like that?
Hey, I don't know a lot about tools, but I know about basketball tools. right? And I would bring him something. After a while, he said, look, man, I'm spending more time with this guy just trying to get me the tools. I'm just going to get up and get the tool myself, right? And that's the way it was. And then he probably said, look, this boy going to have to be something else, but he ain't going to fix no cars.
Amen to that.
He ain't going to fix the cabinet, but he can play ball, but he can't fix the cabinet. But so yeah. So that's my person of the week, Nate Tiny Archibald. And then we got a couple of birthday shout outs.
Oh, yeah. That's good to shout out.
Yeah.
Luna Bear.
We got Luna.
She's all the way in Japan.
She's in Japan, right? Happy birthday, Luna, right? And we have also my brother Doug on the 11th, right? You see him in his bowling outfit. That he used to play football, y'all. He used to play a little basketball, but now he bowl. He got 150 balls, man. He can't find one that'll work, but he got 150 of them. But he's bowling. He's loving what he's doing. He's retired. Every time I call him, we're at the bowling alley, man. So I can't talk to him because he's at the bowling alley. He's concentrating. But yeah, we're all competitive. So, hey, that's the way it is. And then now,
Let's talk a little bit about
yeah. Well, as you know, my oldest son, Lowe's III, is on the second national tour for Ain't Too Proud, right? And he's finishing up today. Actually, he should be in the show right now or getting ready to start the show because there's an hour difference in Minnesota. He's playing the amazing Eddie Kendricks, right? The Temptations is one of my favorite groups of all time, and I've had a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, I always wished I could sing like Eddie. always wished I could, have a deep voice. Papa was a rose, I couldn't sustain the deep voice, but man, I love the Temptations. He's gonna actually be in. Maybe at the end of the show we'll have something because he's gonna be in New Brunswick, right? New Jersey.
He's going to be in Reading, Pennsylvania first.
Reading, Pennsylvania.
And then he's going to he's going to be in Binghamton October 22nd and October 23rd. He will be in Reading, Pennsylvania on October 24th. And then he will be in New Brunswick, New Jersey, October 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Ah, yes. So, hey, go to Ain't Too Proud, right?
Mm-hmm. The
Go
Ain't
to
Too
Ain't
Proud
Too Proud
on Instagram.
Tour on Instagram.
Or you can go on any
the,
search engine.
Search engine. And then pull up the tour dates.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, Mike Hammond just reminded me, he wants to say happy birthday. Happy 71. Happy birthday to Gus Williams. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And Ray on October the 14th. Gus and Ray Williams. Put up that picture. I got a picture of these guys, man.
Which two? Ray and Gus?
Ray and Gus, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ray and Gus.
Let me see. Oh, there they are.
Yeah. Y'all remember this one right here? This is a Nike poster with his mom, right?
With their mom.
With their mom. Yeah. Ray and Gus Williams, to Ray, may he rest in peace. To Gus, man, we praying for Gus that he get well soon. 71 years old, man, just a legend, And you'll hear me talk more about Gus, right? Yeah. You see how Gus said right down at the bottom of his sneakers, right? That was his signature. He tied his sneakers backwards, right? And every player in Mount Vernon wore their sneakers. Even all the way to the NBA, my strings were, every now and then my strings were in the back, representing, Gus, right? Gus Williams, So let's get rolling. Let's check out this highlight. I got a highlight up there. We're going to check out this highlight, and then we're going to start talking about having a basketball conversation.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
A Lowe's More highlight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Walked into it, it was like mostly Madison Square Garden. I've been there once or twice, and it was just huge, you know. And I said, well, you know, all the other schools that I visited didn't have it. And I looked at the floor from a long distance, and I said, this is where I want to play.
And play he did, like no other Mountaineer round baller in recent mind. Lowesmore pulls the trigger and outpours smoke. An all-Eastern 8 selection throughout his career, Lowes led West Virginia in scoring, steals, and assists. The very nature of his style breeds excitement. One of WVU's all-time leading scorers, the 6'1" senior co-captain is proud to be part of the same heritage that produced Jerry West, Hot Rod Hundley, and many others.
Coming here, I knew that Jerry West had went here, and I knew that I had maybe a chance to break his record if I played well enough or get close to it. And the tradition has been really good for me because everybody knows Jerry West, you know, and know that you come close to breaking maybe his record is something exciting.
But the truly exciting part takes place on the court, especially any time Lowesmore is involved.
Yeah, just a few highlights there, you know, some skills back in the day, and you can see I had a little poster there at the Legends.
Let's see what you got.
Yeah, that was the Bob Huggins basketball fantasy camp, and I gotta say this. See that guy?
Which guy?
The guy that took a picture with me.
Oh, yes.
Right. He was you know, a fantasy camp is when anybody 35 and over, it could be a business person, 35 and older, doctors, lawyers, they want to get on the floor and have a guy like Lowesmore. Jerry West happened to be there, right? Jerry West happened to be at the fantasy camp. May he rest in peace. Hot Rod Huntley happened to be at the camp, and Joe Alexander was there. At the time he was playing with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay. Right?
And this guy was on one of the teams I coached. Right? Bring him back up, show him again. I'm gonna tell you this is wow. He says to me, you know, yeah, I remember you were my favorite player, right? I was 5 years old sitting on my father's lap when you played. I was like
That's when you realized you were old?
Yeah, I was like, 5? You couldn't have said like 10, you know? Yeah, but that's so funny, man. And then let me talk a little bit of, because you know you gotta be.
No, they didn't.
Nah, they didn't want me to break Jerry West. Right, that wasn't gonna happen, man. But you know, one of the things, if you're gonna be great at anything,
yes, right.
I don't know if many of you out there knew. My wife would know that when I was at the end of my career playing basketball, I got a call. I was playing in the WBL, the World Basketball League. I was playing there, and I was about to end my career, and I get a call from Phil Jackson, the great Phil Jackson. I get a call from Phil, and Phil said, "Hey, Lowe's, I'm about to take the Chicago Bulls job," and he said, "I want you to come and interview." Right, knowing that I had never coached before, right? He knew how, you know, sometimes point guards can be an example, or a player that has high IQ on the basketball court, right, where they could see the game and they could talk about the game and they understand offenses and defenses and strategy and all those different things. He thought that I would make a good coach. So one of the things is we set up the date in which I was going to do an interview. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is when I got back home, first thing I did was I studied, right? I wanted to know, when did the Chicago Bulls, right? When did the Chicago Bulls, when did the team start in the NBA, right? Who was the owner and founder of it, right? The impact of the Chicago Bulls in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. The things that they impacted the community, not just playing basketball and making money, but was there an impact in the community, right? So I went through the whole history of that, studied it before I went for the interview, right? I think I went there and I knew I had all this history of what the Chicago Bulls was, how the inception of it, and where they were currently. And I interview well Jim Clemens, right? Jim Clemens ended up getting the job over me, who was coaching at
Youngstown State. He was at
Youngstown State. I was playing for Youngstown, right, in the WBL, and he was the coach there. And because he had more coaching experience, and he also was on the New York Knicks, right, with Phil Jackson, so it was a connection there, and so he ended up getting the job, and so that was.
And
it.
you know, and here's something funny.
What?
When he was at Youngstown State, they had 0 wins.
Yeah, but he had coaching experience.
You
know, I mean, I'm not gonna go there, but yeah,
I'm just saying he had 0 wins. That was just a fact.
Yeah, I mean,
wins.
It wasn't very good, but anyway, he had coaching experience. So if you're looking like, sometimes we can get in a tunnel, you know, we can have tunnel vision, right? So you can play basketball, whether you're in high school, college, or pros. You got to think about that you're not going to play forever, right? And you need to think about one of my friends is an NBA official, right? And he played basketball for about 10 years, and then he became an official for the NBA, right? And I've got friends that played basketball, and they went into high school coaching, college coaching, and professional coaching.
Right.
Right. So you can't be in a tunnel, right? You got to think about, and this is the important. I want you to put up that it's got it's like a basketball player. He got books in the ball, right? I want you to put up. I want y'all to hear this quickly, right?
Keep going. Keep talking.
Yeah. So what I want you to understand is that sometimes ball will end up being your career, right? But your education will extend beyond that, because you can't coach, you can't be an official if you can't take tests, right? If you're not knowledgeable, if you don't have an education, right? You don't want to end your career with nothing to do. Right? And I have nothing about somebody that wants to be with DPW who want to pick up garbage. I've got nothing against that. Right? The great Adrian Dantley, who has money, still has money from when he was great at Notre Dame, he was great in the NBA, right? But yet every day, I don't know if he's retired yet, but every day in the DC area where he's from, right, he's a crossing guard. Right, he just gets up every morning. Maybe it's something to do, but he gets up every morning and he helps the children walk across the street. And he's one of the greatest NBA players who ever played. Right, but I see that's by choice. Right, when you can't have the ball without the books. You can't have the books without the ball. Right, you need both of them. Right, you need both of them. You need to figure out, while you're playing, right, what's the end game? I call that the fifth quarter. Now I'm starting to get into some stuff, right? There's four quarters, and then there's overtime. But then there's the fifth quarter. The fifth quarter is, what are you going to do when you can no longer play? Right? That's the fifth quarter. Right? And very powerful. So I want to get into some real quick. I want to get into some history, and I wanted to find out. I'm gonna ask you guys a question before I start talking about it. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Does anybody out there know who? Let me get this. Who John B. McClendon is? Anybody out there? I'm gonna give you a few seconds. Who is John B. McClendon? Who is John B. McClendon? Does anybody out there know who John B. McClendon is? I mean, I've seen people popping stuff on, right? Because one of the things I learned about basketball is you got to know your history, right? I mean, I think it was Shaquille O'Neal, right? I don't know if you remember this, babe. Rookie year, in the All-Star game, right? His rookie year, right? And Lenny Wilkins took Shaquille O'Neal out the game, right? And he sat at the end of the bench. He was mad because he took him out. And he said, man, did that guy ever play before? So one of the first things tonight, right? This is not the first thing, but the first thing was no fear, right? Mm-hmm. The second thing is, right, you cannot, whatever you're doing, dancing, singing, ball, whatever it is, you can't do without education.
Right.
Right? You got to get educated in the thing that you're trying to become. Now, that's John B. McClendon.
And he is the first, right?
I'm going to tell you right here.
African-American.
Check this out. Born in 1915, right? Died in 1999, right? He's credited in the inventing the fast break in basketball.
Wow.
Right? It says McClendon was a basketball coach who pioneered in the integration of sports. Right? He created the fast break, and he was known for this private game that his team, his all black or African American team, played against the North Carolina all white team back in the day in the 1940s, right? And beat them, right? Beat them by 50 or 60 points. Nobody have ever played the game like that. They couldn't keep up with them. They was moving so fast, right? And so it says McClendon was a leader in integrating college and professional basketball. He was the first all-black college team to compete in the national tournament in 1954 and 59. Became the first African-American coach in the ABA. He's the first black coach, right? And his mentor, check this out, because you got to know your history. McClendon mentions McClendon's mentored by inventor James Naismith. Right? Dr. James Naismith created basketball. Right? The inventor of basketball. He was a professor at University of Kansas in the 1930s. John McClendon heard that he was there and went to study under him basketball. Right? John McClendon was also the first person to be inducted into the National Basketball Hall of Fame, both as a coach and contributor. So what I'm saying to you tonight, man, if you don't know your history, right, you can play this game. Your history is important. If you can't appreciate it, one of the things that, man, if you look up on YouTube and look at Michael Jordan, this interview Michael Jordan did with Jerry West, right? When Jerry West asked him if he was the greatest player of all time, right? He said, it would be a disrespect to the ones who came before me, the Bill Russells, the Jerry West, the Oscar Robertson, for me to say I'm the best when I never had a chance to play against Jerry West. I would have loved to play against Jerry West. I would have loved to play against Oscar Robertson. I would have loved to play in the time of Bill Russell, right? I would have loved to play there, right? You can't be the best unless you played against and competed against the best, right? And then his other thing he says, it's not up to me to say I'm the best. That's what you tell me. I'm the best. Right? Very, very, very powerful, man. Very, very powerful. So that's some history. And then for me, some of my personal history, show some of them Mike Tyson's study of boxing. Yeah, everybody, man. And so when you look at Bruce Lee and Ip Man, right? He taught Bruce Lee, right? You always have mentors and masters and coaches, right? So, babe, I think you're supposed to be helping me.
You are helping you. You have DeBryan disease right now.
Yeah, right now.
You just going in, so I'm just letting you go.
Let me get through the history here. So I got some pictures there in a row, right? Just pop them pictures up. Oh, first of all, I thought I was gonna play for the Mets. So I thought I was gonna be a baseball player. And I'll just tell you this quick story. My grandfather, one of the reasons why I wanted to be a baseball player was that every time I went to North Carolina during the summertime when I was a little kid, me and my grandfather used to watch baseball all the time on the black and white TV. You know, he was so excited about baseball, right? He was so excited about baseball, man, that I was like, man, I want to play baseball. You know, and we'd go in the backyard, man, and we would throw balls. He'd throw balls back and forth to each other, right? And I was so excited, right? I was so excited, man, that I had made a baseball team, right? I was in junior minors, right? And yeah, I was in the minor league, right? And there goes my teammates, man. A lot of boys and girls club guys I went to elementary school with. We on there goes Darryl Stewart. I remember, you know, we were all on the same team. My man Seth Vanderberg. I always say Seth was the greatest baseball player I ever seen in my life. Nobody could pitch at that age like Seth did. But right, what was I saying? Yeah, no, I thought I was gonna be a baseball player. Here you go.
Tell your story about your grandfather.
Yeah, so one, I make the baseball team. Now I'm playing pitcher. I'm a pitcher, and I'm a first baseman and a second baseman. One of my favorite players, because he was left-handed, was Willie. Not Willie. He was on the Mets. I can't remember his name now. Bud Harrison.
Okay.
He was one Mets second baseman. He was left-handed. That's why I liked him. You know, and he was good, right? And so. My grandfather he didn't fly up, he drove up, him and my grandmother. And I was so excited for my grandfather to see me play baseball. Right? This is what I learned that there's losing and winning. My grandfather came to see me, and I pitched. Right? And we lost 18-0. I mean, they hit me everywhere you could hit. And if any of you would know, if you know me as a young kid, right, I can't bear losing. I hate losing, right? So anytime I lost, I would cry. That was the first thing I started crying. They hit me every kind of way you could hit. I was crying. The coach was trying to console me. My mother was trying to console me. Everybody. My grandfather was trying to console me. They left, right? And the next game, I pitched. I think I had a 2-hitter. We won by 18-0, and that was my baseball career. And I was a pretty good baseball player, you know. But then I fell in love with basketball. So let's talk about how I got excited. I don't know if I got a Nick thing up there, but you know, yeah, you showing pictures, but you know, I think I got a Nick one up there. The New York Knicks. No.
You do, but
yeah.
Where?
Anyway, let me start off. Like, I want to talk about a little bit about history, man, because you know that you gotta love players, man. I should look at players. This is one of the first things. Let me say this to you: if you want to be a great player, right? You got to watch basketball. I mean, when I was a little kid, man, basketball came on Saturday. You had one game, the college game of the week, and on Sunday you saw an NBA tape delay game of the week, right? And you watched those games, and so that was as much basketball as I could see at the college and professional level, right? You must watch the game, right? There's no playing without watching. You got to watch the game, right? And you got to have a history. Some of my great players up there, Bay, you show Gus Williams, right? Gus Williams was one of my favorite players. You just popped up Earl Tatum, right? You know, Gus was the man. High school, boys club, Gus was the man, right? And then you know, I used to just watch Gus, right? And then Earl. You turn to Earl. Earl was this is at Marquette University, I believe, right? Steph Curry has a beautiful shot. Klay Thompson has a beautiful shot, but I always believe that this Earl Tatum had the best shot I had ever seen anybody shoot. It was perfect form. Look at that form. Elevation and form. It was just perfect. when my daughter Sherelle was having a problem with a shot, and I was out of town, I said, look, if Earl happened to stop by the Boys and Girls Club, ask them to show you his shot. I don't know how many people I said, if you see Earl Tatum, man, call Earl, let him just show you one shot, right? It was just the perfect shot. The mechanics was just perfect on his shot, and it just amazing. And so, Earl was the man. Earl was the one that motivated me. He was one of my first persons to motivate me as a basketball player, right, to work hard, right? Not that I didn't work hard, right, but that was Bill Plez right there, the great Bill Plez from Mount Vernon High School, man, legend back in the day, right? And Bill was the man. Played at the University of Detroit, legend in Mount Vernon, and so
I heard was he the one that could jump real high?
yeah, I had Earl working with me at the Boys and Girls Club before I retired in the night flight program, right? Mark said I used to watch Earl practice at Mount Vernon High School. Yeah, man, he had a shot. Edric Hollins, that's one of my players from Hudson Valley Community College. Edric, what's up, man? and so, Earl was amazing. Bill was amazing. When you have guys around you, when you have guys around you like this, right, you got to be a sponge. My wife always talk about you need to be a sponge, right? You need to soak up whatever information that they have, right? And I soaked up as much information from Gus when I was a young player, as much information from Earl Tatum. I used to just watch Bill Plez in summer leagues and tournament, and just like nobody got a whole lot of people didn't have Bill's timing, right? And yeah, it was just incredible to see him. Now, Bay, I gave you some questions. Show some of those pictures real quick, because people got to know history, right? Mm-hmm. They got to know who kind of like Sam Williams played with me. He was a senior. I was a sophomore. You see there, he had 44 points before Ben Gordon broke his record. Sam was the all-time leading scorer at Mount Vernon High School, right? My estimation, he was one of the greatest high school players I had ever seen, right? His energy, his tenacity, his no fear, right? Let me tell you a story about Sam real quick. I was a sophomore, and we were playing in Long Island Lutheran, right? And Long Island Lutheran had Reggie Jackson or Reggie Jones, 6'4", 6'5", and he had Wayman McCoy. Wayman McCoy is like 6'8", 6'9", projected out of high school, a potential college pro, right? And we were playing against them. We were also playing against Mackin out of D.C. and DeMatha, right? And so I'm a sophomore, so I think everybody, right, and well, at least I know I was scared, right? I was afraid, but the way Sam was in there pacing back and forth, right? And he said, "What's wrong with your guys?" Because at home we were king. We in Westchester, we were king, right? We didn't go that often to play against other players, and so here we out in an area we're not familiar with. And we started hearing all the write-ups on Long Island Lutheran, Mackin, DeMatha, all the great, Mackin and DeMatha, man, they the great programs. But they also recruited, right? They are also schools that recruited players. So they had the best players out there. And I'll never forget it, man. Sam was pacing back and forth. He said, "What's wrong with you guys? Man, I'm about to eat somebody up." That's what he kept saying. And he used to have that lip that hang down. And he used to say, "I'm about to tear somebody up in here tonight," right? and man, he got us so hyped that when we went out there, right, all that fear kind of went away because Sam was so confident, right? And they did not know what to do with Sam. He scored 40 points that night. And they did not know what happened to them. He just ate them up. And he gave me such confidence, right, that I just started to bawl, right? And I believe, check this out, I was walking the other day, right? And I was thinking about Sam, right? I was walking the other day, and I turned the corner on Lincoln Avenue from Webster to Lincoln Avenue, and sitting at the bus stop with Sam Williams. And I gave him a little fist bump. And I was thinking in my spirit, man, somebody would have to tell me something other than the two best backcourt mates together had to be Lowe's Moore and Sam Williams. I mean, when you look going left and going right, you had me on the left and Sam on the right. We can both go both ways. But, man, we were two talented guards, man, in the history of the game, man. We were explosive, right? So that's my Sam Williams story, and I stick by it, you know. But that's Sam, man. And you know, any other ones? Walt Frazier, right? You can keep going. Walt Frazier, I took his around the back and his defense. Earl the Pearl Monroe, I took that shake and spin, all that stuff that people were doing today. Earl the Pearl Monroe was doing it. There is no player in the history like Oscar Robertson. I mean, nobody, I don't even know, I can't even remember anybody that resembles Oscar Robertson, right? He was just a phenomenon. He was a unique player. I mean, these guys are, Walt Frazier and them, they 6'4", 6'5", they big guards, big point guards, right? And they could play, and they dominated college basketball, right? I'm just giving you history, man, because that's the first thing you got to start with, is you got to start with history, right? And then keep you got some more in there. Keep on rolling. Yeah, keep on rolling, because we got to get rolling. You got to ask me some questions I sent you, right? Some things. There go Dr. J. Man, when Dr. J came on the scene, look at that, man. Woo! Boy, looking in the rim. Right, when Dr. J came on the scene, I was like, oh, man, we in trouble. We see all these great players that we could emulate. I'd be in my room, and I'd be hanging in the Hot Wheel track and the hanger and the net with the hanger on the Hot Wheel track and shooting the tennis ball in it and jumping on my bunk bed, right? You know, this is how it starts. It starts in the mind, man. You know, I started emulating people and thinking about the game and thinking about their moves and stuff like that, man. And I made them a part of me, right? And then I became me, right? So, yeah. Any questions out there, man? You guys got any questions for me? My wife's going to start, the Iceman George Gervin, finger roll. I got to tell you a story, right? My rookie year, me and Darwin Cook, he was my roommate. Man, me and Darwin in the first half, right? I ain't going to say we locked George Gervin up. George Gervin had single figures. Because everywhere he went, Darwin was on him, right? And I would double team him. And then I had him, I pick him up, and then Darwin would double team him, right? So we kept him to single digits, right? Single digits in the first half. And for some reason, my coach, Kevin Loughery, I love him. But he switched Mike Newland on him in the third quarter. And that boy went crazy. He shot every kind of off the backboard shot. We don't even shoot. Like, who's the greatest backboard shooter in the history of basketball? Anybody know that? Who is the greatest backboard shooter? George Gervin. George Gervin is one of them, but he's not the best, right? He's not the best. Nah, he's not the best.
It wasn't George Gervin?
Nah, George Gervin is not the best backboard shooter. We don't even shoot off the backboard no more. Matter of fact, we don't even shoot medium range no more.
Alex English?
Nope, wasn't Alex English. Right? Wasn't Alex English. There you go. Sam Jones. I knew Michael was gonna say it. Sam Jones is the greatest backboard shooter in the history. Look him up. Look him up, man. That guy never miss, man. Never miss. And so and my all-time Dr. J, David Thompson, my all-time favorite. My first goal was to go to North Carolina State to play where David Thompson played. 48-inch vertical. Man, just amazing player, man. I mean, take away the jumping ability, and he would still be a great player, right? Bill Walton called him the greatest college player in the game. He can't be the greatest because you know who was the greatest college player? Greatest college player ever was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor. Right? 3, and he couldn't play as a freshman. He couldn't play. right? I believe he would have had 4 national championships if he had played all 4 years. He won 3.
I got a picture for you.
Okay.
Who's that?
That's me. Gerald Henderson, look where I am, look where he is. He trying to get out the way of that dunk. He trying to get out the way. Yeah. You know, I got an Archibald story. One time, I hate to steal stuff from like guys I looked up to, but I stole the ball from Nate. And as I was driving to the basket, and I'm not a cocky guy, I don't really talk that much, but I asked him not to jump, but he did. But it wasn't good. But it was a good time. Yeah. Didn't want to fight. I mean, come on, man. I just,
Told you not to jump.
Yeah, I told you not to jump. So I got some things on my sheet down there. Let's talk about real quickly. Let's talk about, man, because let me remind you, I'm working on doing a player development clinic, right, for coaches, all levels of coaches. I got some things that I've learned over the years, right? Some concepts, production per minute, bubble theory. I got some stuff, right? I got some stuff that I learned over the years from a lot of these coaches and a lot of players that I played against. I picked up a lot of stuff, man, and from players and coaches, philosophies and different things like that. And I want to be able to share them, right? I want to be able to share and give them back. So I'm doing a player development clinic for coaches, 3 hours, and I'm doing a player development clinic for players. I'm only having 25. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it again, but I'm only taking 25 because you can only handle so many players. But babe, you got some stuff for me.
Well, first of all, let's see. You really just let's see, how long has it been? Like, I think you went a straight hour and 8 minutes. I think you might have taken 3 breaths in that time.
Oh, man.
So, but I'll host for the last 22 minutes.
Yeah, you were supposed to be hosting.
The last 21 minutes.
Okay.
And first of all, I know you were basketball was a dream that you had starting when you were at Mount Vernon High School, right? Mm-hmm. So,
woo! I was serious then, man. Taking no prisoners.
Listen. The hair was almost like the way the kids have the hair today.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like that number 12.
Number 12. You know why? My favorite number all time is number 11. Mm-hmm. But in high school, they wouldn't buy new uniforms. So I wore 12 at home and 15 on the road. I wanted number 11. Bad.
Brian has rubbed off on you. Absolutely, Brian. Help.
I mean, if you go back to then, you'll see in, I was named All League,
yeah,
All American, right? I was you call it McDonald's All American then.
That was Dapper Dan, right? Was it Dapper Dan?
It was Parade All-American.
Okay.
And Scholastic All-American.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then All-State, right? And then the Con Edison Award winner.
I have a red shirt, Brian, but it doesn't say WABA on it. We're still a little salty over that, but we digress.
Right. I'm looking for my shirt, man. I'm looking for my shirt. And this here is we played against what's the Yonkers team? Gordon. We played Gordon, right? And it's called Lowe's Knights Divine, right? And I said, I thank God Almighty for the strength He gave me to play today. I had the flu during this game. You can't really see the stats, but I had a quadruple double in high school. A quadruple double. If y'all don't know what that means I had double figures and points, assists, steals, and rebounding.
Okay. Did anybody else play?
Yeah, me. Now, you can't really see this, but on this list of 1976 All-American Michael Woodson is on there. Irvin Magic Johnson is on there.
Ooh.
I'm on the top 25 players in the nation.
Wow.
Right. So I had to, you got to come with your resume.
Okay.
And that's me and my man Scooter at the boys club working out.
Yeah. Scooter was a baby.
Yeah, Scooter was a baby back then. I was a baby. We were all both babies back then. And then of course this is WVU. That's the craziest part. I did go to the Dapper Dan All-Star game in high school.
Uh-huh.
Right? In high school I flew. Here's the incredible story. This is how I did my letter of intent, which they're about to get rid of the letter of intent.
Are they?
Yeah. And because we need to know what the clearinghouse is. No longer the clearinghouse anymore, right? But it's the eligibility recruiting program, right? So you have to be cleared, right? You have to have all the requirements academically in order to be a potential college player and NCAA college player or NCAA 2 player. But so this is how I got signed. West Virginia knew, I was running rampant in All-Star games, right? And this is the all-county team.
Yeah, there were some good guys in there.
Yeah, Kurt Alston,
yes.
Joe Hardy, Andre Battles right next to me.
Andre Battle.
Yeah, there was some good players back then.
George Abrams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, good players.
Kurt and his brother used to babysit us when we were kids. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And Andre was just like, wow. I remember Kevin Butler from Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was they were some ballers.
Ballers back then.
Jesse Coulter, I remember him. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys had some.
Yeah. You know who was Mr. Basketball?
Talent. Who was Mr. Basketball?
Oh, Lowe's Moore was Mr. Basketball. I just shout myself out.
Oh gosh, you are really
man.
feeling yourself today, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
So what happened was that West Virginia, I had committed to West Virginia, but I hadn't signed the letter of intent. Now you can't do this anymore, right? You can't do this anymore. I'm on my way to Pittsburgh to play in the Dapper Dan Classic, right? And I get on the plane, and we're moving away from the airport. All of a sudden, we move back to the airport. We come back to the doors open, and the coach Jim Amick, who recruited me, came on the plane to have me sign my letter of intent. You first of all, you can't even get to the plane today, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I signed my letter of intent on the plane because he felt like if I went to the Dapper Dan,
somebody else
would see me, right, and want me. So I played in the All-Star game here. Miss Karl Leave, right, Coach Leave,
Shaq then,
and Miss Walters, my math teacher, wrote a recommendation letter to me, for me, to Notre Dame, right? To the coach back, I can't remember the coach's name back then, to Notre Dame. I play in an All-Star game in Nyack, right? I played the All-Star game, and all the coaches from all over America came to the All-Star game. They were looking at Albert King. Albert King was a rising junior or rising sophomore. They all came to recruit him, right? In the All-Star game, I scored 60 points in the All-Star game.
Wow.
Right? And the coach from Notre Dame came up to me and said, "Did you sign yet?" and I was like, "Yeah, I signed with West Virginia." He said, "Yeah, I got a letter of recommendation from some of your teachers. They sent you a recommendation letter, and I had already signed." Right? Wow. He didn't want me, he didn't recruit me then, because I got recruited by North Carolina State, UCLA, and all those other good schools. But yeah, so.
Yeah, that was.
And then the shirt you showed.
Yeah.
Joe Frizz.
This one?
Yep, there go Joe Frizz right there. Me and Joe became backcourt members at West Virginia University, and Joe and I was at the All-Star game together. We was on the same team. We both committed to West Virginia at the same time, right? May he rest in peace, my good friend Joe. Right?
Yeah.
And I ended up scoring 40 points against Notre Dame.
Ooh.
National television. Right? You see what Red Auerbach showed me? I'm going to show you. I'm just kind of feeling myself tonight. There's a little like some writing stuff up there. Yeah, there it goes right there. It says,
Oh, let's
read
start
that
here.
for me.
You want to start here? Or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first
you
one? Which
can read
one?
that. Just Mr. Jones at the Boys and
Okay,
Girls Club.
he's a very exciting player. I saw him score 40 at Notre Dame. He's a great one-on-one player. He can go with anybody. He's deceiving. He looks small, but he plays very big. He doesn't remind me of anyone I've ever coached because I've never had anybody who could jump that well. That was from Red Auerbach, the general manager of the Boston Celtics. Also, this one comes from... It said, I had the privilege of coaching Lowe's during his childhood and was his assistant high school coach. I've worked with many young people in our area through the Boys Club. We've had some great players in Mount Vernon, and Lowe's could be the best guard to ever come out of here, and that includes Gus, Seattle Supersonics, Ray, New York Knicks, Earl Tatum, Detroit Pistons, and that came from James Jones, the director of the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon.
All right, baby, we running out of time here.
We're running out of time, but we run the show. We can do whatever we want to do,
Okay.
right? Isn't that true?
So yeah,
Okay, so let's quickly just go. Let's talk about the Mr. Jones who wrote that.
Well, I spoke about Mr. Jones earlier. I mean, he was, you know, one of the things I mentioned and that I wanted to talk about was called out the box basketball. Lowe's more out the box, you know, out the box basketball. Mr. Jones was an out the box basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did some crazy stuff. I mean, some real crazy stuff in my training. Literally, Mr. Jones was my foundation. If you see that picture there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's working with a kid. I mean, that's a little stick. He's showing the kid how to create arc on the ball, and he's showing the kid down at the bottom how the ball is supposed to sit in your hand before you bring it over to shoot it. And then he's talking about how to shoot the ball and how to get arc. Now that's just one stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just one stick until he get the broom. And he kept going up and up, and he taught you how to create the right arc on the ball, right? And he taught every player like that from the inception. I don't care how big or small, it started with the foundation, right? And the foundation for Mr. Jones, number one, was no fear, right? And number two, right, was we always had skull sessions, right? And so he always believed that, right, in order to physically get it, you had to mentally get it first.
Right.
Right? So whatever we did in practice, we went over in skull session.
Well, we're quickly. I know we're gonna just kind of shoot some of your West Virginia pictures up.
Okay.
This was also one of my favorite ones. Lowe's in the tuxedo dunking. Like that was like really cool. I remember seeing those when I was a kid and saying, "Wow, Lowe's, that's pretty cool," right? You know. And then it turns into this. It goes from this to this. You see the one on the far right where you dunking, and this is what you're doing. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool that they went from that to that." I mean, you just were like all up in the air and everything. You had muscles. Look at muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles.
Yeah.
You blocking somebody's shot.
Yeah. He tried. I made him.
Oh, didn't you have that guy on
my
did you
show.
on your show?
Greg White.
Yeah.
Now, Greg.
he went up underneath you.
Yeah, he went up. He had to go underneath me because he had to go underneath me. I mean, this is one of my teams.
This is with Gail Catlett, right?
Gail Catlett, yeah, my senior year. My jersey, along with Rod Thorne, is in the locker room, along with Jerry West and some other players that made it to the pros.
after this, what did you end up doing?
After what? After West Virginia?
That's after West Virginia.
After West Virginia, I get drafted.
By the
New Jersey Nets.
With two really good dudes right there. Is that Mike and
Michael Corrin and Mike Jaminski.
Mike and
one,
Lowe's.
One at North Carolina, West Virginia, and Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good rookie draft. And,
Yeah.
and then they had Darwin that year too, right?
And Darwin Cook, Darwin
Okay,
Cook.
okay, yeah.
Out of- yeah.
He had some hops. I remember the hops for sure. I was, I don't want to give it away, but I was in the 6th grade watching those.
Oh man.
So then you get drafted by the Nets. This is one of my favorite pictures too. I really like this picture. You're so intent, looking at that, and yeah. So when people,
I remember this game right here, right? I was shooting around, me and Darwin was shooting around, and we were playing the 76ers at Rutgers.
That's Darwin right next to you, right?
Yeah, that's Darwin. And we were playing 76ers at Rutgers University, right? And Dr. J came out, who was one of my heroes. You seen him earlier dunking on somebody, right? And he walked by me and said, "Hey, Lowe's, how you doing?" I was like, "What? Dr. J knows my name." And there's
that's you right there, Larry Bird.
Larry Bird, the great Larry Bird.
He scored 50 on y'all that day, didn't he?
He didn't score no 50. Hey, let me tell you one of the unique things about Dr. J and Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
We were always come to the third quarter, 3 quarters. We were beating them Nets. We beating them, and Dr. J and Larry Bird would take over in the 4th quarter and just beat us.
But you know what? Now like you said, I'm a full sports person, right? Mm-hmm. I would always feel that way about Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach on football.
Yeah.
Like the Giants would be winning, Jets would be winning. Come the 4th quarter, Roger Staubach would score, right? Terry Bradshaw would score. You'd be like, "Can y'all just like win the game?" Just like,
yeah.
But it would always be the 4th quarter.
Right, and
now we got Aaron Rodgers. We can't win in the
right. And the crazy thing is, his question is, everybody. A lot of people can start the game. People can play the game, right? But the most important parts of the game is who's in at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. My goal was always to be at the end of the game.
Ray said, "Watching you play made me want to be left-handed."
Yeah, and many people don't know that I can probably shoot as well with my right hand as my left hand. And Gus was a real reason for that, because during the summer league one year, in the summer league, they called him in Greenberg. They called him the Man. His name was the Man.
Oh, I remember him pulling up and shooting a 3 with his left hand.
Yeah.
And there was nobody in front of him.
Yeah.
It was a fast break.
Yeah. And he inspired me to get in there and work continuously on my right hand, even though I broke my right wrist and I had to really work on my right hand. But he scored. He hurt his wrist in the semifinals, or his right wrist in the semifinals, and came back and won the championship in the Greenberg, scoring 40 points with his right hand, with his left hand.
Oh yeah.
So I was like in there just doing my right hand thing. So
There you go, couple shots.
Yeah. TR done.
Then you go to the CBA, the Billings Volcanoes.
Billings, Montana. Yeah.
And then you went to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you had some
Scott Webman, Bobby Wilkerson, James Silas, Richard Washington, Cliff Robinson was with me with the Nets, right? Then I went to the Clippers, Craig Hodges and
Terry Cummings
and
Lionel Hollins,
Tom Chambers, Lionel Hollins, Randy Smith.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, we had some great players. Michael Brooks.
Tom Chambers was dunking on people like crazy.
Yeah, he was.
Then you went there to the Albany Patroons.
Albany Patroons, CBA. I had Paul Silas as a coach with the Clippers. Bill Mussleman as a coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kevin Loughery as a coach with the New Jersey Nets. We won 2 CBA championships in the CBA. Right, those were my good friends.
You definitely had some hops back in the day.
Yeah,
you had hops up until even as an older guy, until somebody took your knee out and caused you to have that.
Look, you got 3 people trying to guard me, man. I mean, like, come on.
Is that Kenny Nat?
Nah, Kenny Nat.
Number 10?
Nah, that's not Kenny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Summer League, man. How can we forget Summer League? Stevie Burke, Walter Barry. All them guys, Gary Springer, and then these are some of the legends. You got Ray Williams, Gus Williams Diggle, Sam Diggle, your cousin, Gary Johnson, Turn. You got
That's a team.
Hilton Armstrong, Tony.
Got Fred Blake on that team. He was
Fred
hanging
Blake.
with your Ray.
Yeah.
Man,
Mike
this
Young,
team right here
my brother
was
Curtis.
powerful.
Yeah.
Did y'all lose anything? Because, my goodness.
No, we had a good team, man. We had players.
Oh, and Shalico.
Yeah, and then this is when I started on my coaching. Omar and Shalico, Redemption Christian Academy. I started my coaching.
Doobie and Justin.
Yeah, that's where Edric was Hudson Valley Community College. I went over. I mentioned in my flyer. I mentioned Doc Sauers, one of the greatest Division III coaches ever. I learned a lot from Doc Sauers. He was the guy who taught the coaching certification classes. I learned a lot from Doc Sauers, back then.
So you're talking about training. So then you became mentor to what I call one of your other children. Look at that mustache and beard around you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now you look like Losey right now.
Yeah. Eddie Kendricks.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
And
then I had as my son Isaiah. We were in Denver Nuggets. George Karl was my CBA coach too as well. Competed against George Karl. He was coach of Denver Nuggets at that time. This is Isaiah's wheelchair basketball team, and I even coach wheelchair basketball. I coached my son for a little while too as well.
I have to say, now we have 3 of our 4 children play basketball. I still think the best shooter was Michelle. She was a cheerleader, but I digress.
Oh, no.
I digress because the girl could hit the 3-point shot from anywhere with a cheerleading outfit on.
She had Earl Tatum jump shot.
The basketball coach at Mount Vernon High School, he tried in all his might. Can she play? Let's put her uniform on. She could shoot a few threes and then she'd go back and flip around and do cheerleading.
Yeah. Now I sent you a little thing. Is there anything on there before we get off here?
So we were looking at a couple of games today and you were talking about the type of defense that people play today versus what you guys played back in the day. I watched the games back in the day, and the physicality that they had then does not compare to what goes on now. I feel that, it's like touch central here, touch foul. Back then, you had people like, Karl Malone bloodying up Isaiah Thomas, right? I don't remember if he got ejected. I just think
he got ejected because he got 38 stitches. But,
but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of don't come in here. Like there was just ways that they played different back then than what you play now. And I'm not saying now it's not good. I'm just saying it was different.
Well, you would have to learn how to play without contact on defense, right? Today.
So do they play? Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing. It's soft. It is soft today. People don't have the same, and I don't know if it's about refereeing, because remember the other thing is, back when you played, you only had 2 refs.
Right.
Right. Now they have 3 officials on every game, so there's a lot more calls, a lot more things, but there's a lot more emphasis on scoring now.
Well, the game has changed, and you can thank guys like Dr. J, Connie Hawkins, who brought you can thank the whole ABA, because the ABA was built on entertainment, right? All the people could jump and fancy, and then the inception of the 3-point line was in the ABA, right? And those are the things that they adopted in the NBA. So the 3-point line. So my thing is that when Dr. J and them came in, it made it more entertaining, right? A lot of people didn't really want to know a whole lot about the game. They didn't want to know why that guy picked or run that play and he came off 2 picks, right? Or that the defense was like you could put your hand on the guy's hip and control him all the way down the court. If you had a guy like Ray Williams, right, who was strong, he could put his hand on you and just push you where he wanted you to go. Yeah. Right? And you would have to learn how to play through that physicality.
I watched you and Jamal demonstrate that in the living room.
Yeah. I wish we had that video.
That video was funny.
Yeah.
But the other thing, I wanted to go back a little bit because I was talking about the children. Isaiah was the only one of the children that had your mentality. Initially, when he first started playing, he had shooter's mentality. It was about, I'm scoring 40 points. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. In the wheelchair, it wasn't until coaching got a hold of him that he stopped scoring the way he could score. But he was a really, he had a scorer's mentality. Losey and Sherelle can score, and both of them were ambidextrous scorers, right? Mm-hmm. But they had defensive mentality like me. Isaiah was not a defensive player.
we started. That's how Mr. Jones. We started on defense. If you look at the history of all Mount Vernon teams, particularly Mount Vernon High School, it was defense. It was the defense that created the offense.
Listen, Brian says offense sells tickets. We know you like offense, Brian, because you don't give MVPs to defensive players. We already established that with you. Brian says that defense doesn't win games. It wins games, it just doesn't. It's not what people are looking for.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think you have to play good defense and you have to have good offense. Because you can play all the defense in the world. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. My alma mater, West Virginia University, with Bob Huggins, man, they played wonderful defense, right? Mm-hmm. Press Virginia. All season long, they would play great defense. And then when they got to the playoffs, right? Playoffs, great players great teams make adjustments. Mm-hmm. So you got to be able to score when the playoffs come. You can play great defense, but people can score. Right? Now you can play great defense, but you can't hit a shot. Right?'re not gonna win that game.
No. So, and I see Brian is like connected to us here, and I want to ask a couple of questions because we were watching the NBA finals tonight, and I believe Heidelman, I think that's her name, was shooting a 3, and Vandersloot stepped past, and her foot comes down. Heidelman, I think, kicks her foot out a little bit, but she comes down on Vandersloot's foot, and it ends up being considered a flagrant foul. Mm-hmm. And you had a question about the way we used to box out in the day, and what this thing where people are going forward and stepping into people as they're shooting. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about what your philosophy is on that.
Well, we don't teach traditional box out. We used to call it contest,
turn. Right?
Turn.
No, to contest, locate, and turn, right?
Right.
Because you have to know where they are.
Yeah, well, you got to contest them. Well, you're already there with them. You find hopefully you located them. But you contest because you're right there with them. And when you go up, your hand is up with them. As they're rising up, right, you're contesting that shot. So when you come down, you're close enough to contest that shot. When you come down, you turn and you spread your legs and you box out, right? And so just in case that person shoots the ball and follows their shot, you box them out. But when your legs are spread like that, the person comes down naturally in their own spot without stepping on your foot. Mm-hmm. But today, we lead with the hand and we lead with the foot. And so now we cause injuries.
I remember I remember the year that we lost the first championship to Ossining. Danny Rickey, his kids shoot a lot of threes, and they would do this spread thing. They shoot and they spread their legs, and we couldn't go past them, and it was always a foul on us, right? And the referees never said they spread their legs. They were not in their circle, right? And it was almost like they were kicking their legs out, spreading their legs, and so that any contact that we couldn't really even guard it. We couldn't even get close enough to guard it because they would kick their legs out, spread their legs, to get fouled. So it's really kind of But
now the rules have changed.
Well, the referees are picking it up now. We were at the WABA championship game a couple of weeks ago. I think I don't know if it was a championship game, but the girl went up for a shot, and the ref called the foul, and the other ref, the female ref, she said no, she kicked her leg out, and they overturned it, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really good call because a lot of referees, I think that they do this when they pay attention to things, right? Mm-hmm. So that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you about that defensively. What do you think has changed over the years more than anything else? What is the one thing that you feel has changed let me change that. Something to improve the game and something that has been a detriment to the game.
Well, the improvement of the game was that back in the day, we talk about percentages, right? So back in the day, if you shot a long distance shot, right, people would say that's not a good shot, right? And then now today we're saying that's a good shot because we're looking at the data.
Data analytics.
We're looking at the analytics and we're saying if we shoot more threes, even though we may shoot a lesser percentage, we'll get more points, right? So that's what's changed the game. I mean, Dr. J changed the game with the dunk. Connie Hawkins, Dr. J, Michael Jordan. But although Michael Jordan was probably the most fundamental player ever.
And Steph changed the game with the three.
Yeah, and Steph changed the game with the three. Right, and so that's what makes the game different.
And it's not that Steph changed the game with the three, like because Reggie Miller and Ray Allen were 3-point shooters, and they made their name off of those 3-point shots. But it wasn't the only shot that they would shoot. I mean, and it's not the only shot that Steph shoots. I think one of the things that makes Steph a great player is his ball handling allows him to get to the basket, and he really does a lot to get to the basket. But then he's also dangerous because he can shoot it.
He can shoot the three.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we used to have a filter, right? Big guys go down low. They don't play outside, right? So you don't shoot 3-pointers because they're low percentage shots, right? And so now, and then the inception of the 3-point line from 2-pointers. We used to figure out how to win games with 2-pointers, right? And then now, it's the 3-point shot. And the thing is, I was never, I was shooting those shots before. I mean, Mr. Jones allowed me to shoot those shots before. I mean, Sam Williams used to shoot those shots before, right? There was a lot of us who could hit those shots back in the day. But as you transition from coaches, a lot of coaches say, no, that's a bad shot, right? And
but that's also, I also think that when you think about the European players, right, that are coming over.
Is that a question?
No. Brian was saying
statement.
with the kick with the 3-point shot, he said if it's in their normal shooting motion, it's fair game. But if it's not within their normal shooting motion and there's a foul, then that becomes
because people once the referee started like with the James Harden,
right.
He used to go for the 3 and kick his legs, right? And then they would give him the foul. And they let him do that all season. For years, man. He was a phenomenal. Oh, what a great offensive player. Then the game has changed because now you used to get, after you dribble the ball, you get 2 steps. Right? But you couldn't do that going backwards or sideways.
Right.
But now you can do it. You can take that last dribble and take 2 steps sideways either way and take 2 steps back.
Yeah. And people are good at it.
Well,
they practice it and they're good at it.
Anything that you practice, you're gonna be good at it. And see, I had to correct my own self, right? When you say can a player play back in the day, right? I should say, oh well, if you take a player today and you put him back in that era, you take LeBron James playing the way he plays today, he couldn't play in that era. Steph Curry would have a hard time in that era. All these guys would have a hard time in that era. But if those same guys with the same talents that they have, right, grew up in that era.
Oh, they would adjust.
Yeah, there would be an adjustment.
Yeah, no question about
LeBron would be crazy.
Oh, yeah. Anthony, you're right. The crossover changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
The crossover definitely changed a lot. And what's his name? He was one of the first ones to change it. What's his name? He was really
Tim
smooth.
Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway was smooth with the. He was smooth.
And then
Allen
Iverson
smooth with it. They definitely changed the game.
And this is what I want to say to people, man. People, one of the things they do is a lot of people dribble the day without purpose. Right? We just over dribble. We just dribble too much.
Dribble to look good.
Yeah, there's no purpose in the dribble. When you see me in the video. Let me show you a video.
Oh, show a video.
Show this video.
Okay, which video am I showing?
Yeah, because we over.
And we
having fun, but we over.
But the executive producer said it's okay.
Okay.
Is it Lowe's More highlights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Known as one of the most entertaining players to ever set foot on the Coliseum floor, Lowe's Moore dazzled the crowd as a basketball player from 1977 to 80. The Mount Vernon, New York native is only one of 11 Mountaineers to score more than 1,600 career points. As a standout guard, Moore scored 20 points or more 37 times, which ranks 6th in school history.
Lowe's Moore, a magical player whose tricks with the ball earned him All-America honors as a sophomore. At 6'1", he can do things others must dream about. And just a touch of Lowe's Moore magic brings the crowd to its feet and the team together. Call him one of college basketball's premier guards.
I always play to the situation. Like, whatever happens, if a guy passes the ball and I happen to steal it, I play to that situation, you know. And if a guy's gonna run up on me too fast, I won't dunk it, I'll just lay it up, you know. But if he doesn't, I'll dunk it. It's like I'm playing, reacting all the time. I'm not thinking on one specific thing, but I'm thinking of a whole idea, like a freedom type thing. You know, I like my talent to be free, where I can play freely, you know, without putting any type of mechanical things with it. The dunk draws people. It feels good. It feels good for me, and I know it feels good for the home crowd, and wherever I may be, it draws people. The dunk will bring some fans to your side. If I just leave the memory of being an exciting ball player and what the fans are looking for, then I'll be happy. That's been my true tradition all the way down from high school. I do things that other people don't do. I try things that other people don't try. It's just like I'm passing through, you know, and I want to leave a little saying with them or whatever, you know, that make them happy or touch their heart.
This man is a great person, and I would hope that all athletes could model themselves after him. Lowe's Moore.
I remember that. That was a really good. That's your Hall of Fame induction video,
induction, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. You know, thinking about it, I mean, this game has been good to you. It's been good to us as a family. I mean, you know, it's been, you know, it's a pleasure for me. I watched you, you know, as a young person growing up, you know, yes, you laugh when I say I was in 6th grade, you know, watching you dunking at County Center and never realizing years later in life that I would be your wife, right? But it's pretty cool seeing what basketball has done. And I went to college, and it was funny because in my college dorm, we had the refrigerator, and I had magnets. You know, you have magnets and you put things on. So I had your picture up. I had Scooter and Rodney's picture up. I had Ricky Burton's picture up. I had Smiley's picture up. I had Gus and Ray and Earl Tatum, right? So my refrigerator, because Katrina was my roommate, right? So we're from Mount Vernon. So we were so Mount Vernon, like Mount Vernon was everything. And look at the basketball players that are at Seton Hall in Nebraska and Louisville, you know, and in the NBA. It was like a big deal for us. Yeah. And I never forget the day that I'm on the train going home, and my father said to me, "I think Lowe's Moore likes you." And I busted out laughing. And I'm in the car. I'm in a train with Katrina, and I'm saying, "Is that what?" Look, my father said Lowe's Moore likes me, and she said, "Ah!" She busted out laughing. We literally laughed from Mount Vernon to Fairfield. You know, that my father said you like me. Like, he knew, you know, and it's so awesome that, you know, I get a chance to experience that journey with you over the years. So truly, Brian said I was born in 1977. Okay. You know, and so, yes, he tapped the glass and dunked it. He used to do things like throw the ball behind his back twice. It would go from his right hand, and then he would swing it back to his left hand. I thought that was like one of the coolest things I ever saw. So it's been a pleasure to talk about your basketball journey. And the best is yet to come, because I believe when you coach or when you can share your vision and your gift with others, it spreads out your wings. Right? So curiosity question. What was your curiosity question? What do we have that so we can kind of get a curiosity?
Well, my curiosity, not necessarily a question, but
A conversation.
a curiosity conversation. Well, I'll tell you one thing, right, that I kind of became aware of. Mr. Jones used to always talk about that the game is 99.9% mental. Once you're in shape and condition and understand the game is 99.9% mental.
But here's my curiosity conversation. You had a chance to meet the great LeBron James. I see Stoney and Losey and Steven and you and JB. What kind of guy is he?
LeBron is the best. I mean, he's probably one of the best human beings I ever met. Extremely talented, just a joy to be around. I mean, he just welcomed me in his circle, and I'll never forget when you see that JB Smoove. JB Smoove was the host for the Sports Illustrated Person of the Year. LeBron won Sports Illustrated Person of the Year at the Barclays, and he invited me to come down. And after, I had met LeBron before. You see in the picture at the top, right? And we met LeBron. He was at our practice because I coached the New York City team in the Battleground.
The Nike Battleground.
The Nike Battleground.
Yeah.
And
you won.
Yeah, we won. And the crazy part of it is that, that was probably 6 years before this, 6 years after when I seen LeBron again, right? And JB said, we're going to go over and see LeBron, right? And I was thinking, like, there's a guy who's always with LeBron. Now, you never notice him. He's an older gentleman, got the little gray, beard and stuff like that. He's always there. So before I could talk to LeBron, I had to speak to him. Mm-hmm. And then he nodded at LeBron, right? He did like this. And he said, you can go talk to him now. He's like the watchman over LeBron. You never see him. He's his mentor, father. That's the commissioner of the NBA. Let me finish this real quick.
Former one.
Yeah, former commissioner of the NBA. And when JB walked in the locker room, they said, "Oh, JB!" They start screaming. Him and the guy started screaming, and they looked behind JB and they saw me. They was like, Coach Moore, what's up? Like that. I mean, just like he never knew, like he didn't forget me. They both hugged me, man. Oh my God, how you been doing? Like that. So they just great people. LeBron's just a great human being. And here's the one thing about David Stearns as the commissioner. You know how I am when I see people.
No, he wouldn't.
I see people, and I walk up to them. If I see they famous, I want to say something to them. I want to say, you're a great actor. You're a great singer. I walk up to them. I don't care. Everybody get weirds out when I started going towards people like that. Hey, Mr. Iverson, because I want to have a communication with them. David Stearns, I used to call him, right? Periodically, like once a month, I used to call Mr. David Stearns. I would leave a message on his voicemail. I would leave it with his secretary. And he would call me back. And I would talk to him about basketball. I would talk to him about how I felt about the.
He lived in Scarsdale, didn't he?
Yeah, he lived in Scarsdale. I talked to him about I was talking about AAU, the way the game is being played. There's things I like to dislike. And we would have a great conversation for about 15, 20 minutes. And before he said, I got to go back to work, but I'll call you back again soon. That's the type of person that he was. Right. And evidently he knew the type of person I was. I don't know what some of those questions are, but
That's awesome. Well, you know what? We might have
What
to
were some
do
of those questions?
like what would you tell somebody, a young person today, if who was trying to get into any type of basketball, whether it be coaching, refereeing, owning a team, like what advice would you give them?
I'd say you be a student, right? I would say do your research, right? Because I went to the library, right, when I was a little kid, and I picked up every basketball book I could, and I picked up every book. Somebody who was coaching basketball. One of my favorites is John Wooden, right? One of my favorites, John Wooden. I would take those books out the library and I would read them. I would study them. Whatever you're going to be a student. You know, study it, right? Research it, right? And you know, learn to master it. You know, that's being my advice. And I'm before we get off right now, I want to give you one thing, right, that I learned in terms of being a great one-on-one player. Right? This is one thing. I call it the bubble theory. Right? And if you put your hand out, right, in front of you, and you turned around in a circle, there's an invisible bubble. You guys, when I say this, you're gonna agree, right? When somebody bursts your bubble, right? Somebody's talking to you, right? Somebody walks in your space and they right in front of your face. Certain coaches like to do that. They like to walk up close to you and talk right in your face. You're uncomfortable, right? You're uncomfortable. If somebody's outside this, I recognize that if somebody was outside my bubble, that was a shot I can get off anytime. Right? Soon as I see him outside my bubble, I pull up and shoot. Right? I would go as farther, as close to them, to my bubble, and I could get my shot off every single time. If that person busts my bubble, I attack them. Right? I attack them. Soon as they burst my bubble to contest me, I go to the basket. I would attack them. Right. So that's called the bubble theory.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, you know what? I think you've done a great job today sharing with your inner Brian Prilo. Yes, you really did a great job as far as sharing all this information. And as a former basketball player, you know, who really liked defense, I always enjoyed the offensive-minded game. And when I coached basketball in high school, my first few years, I was a very defensive-minded coach. And even though we only lost one game or two games in the entire season, the first 3 years, it wasn't until I became an offensive-minded coach that we actually won the championship. Mm-hmm. You know, and we won 2 in a row, right? And so, but I never stopped the defense, but I just became more attentive to offense. You know, so it's really been a great opportunity for us as coaches, that you don't just be specific to one thing. And one of the things that I've seen with West Virginia when Bobby was coaching, that Bobby was such a defensive-minded coach and didn't really pay attention to offense, which is what it caused him to be the championship to elude him. He had when he had Deshaun Butler, he was trying to become offensive, and Deshaun got hurt in the finals, right? Mm-hmm. But he was always defensive-minded. And so as a defensive-minded coach, I loved defense. But when I became offensive-minded and understood the power, and because sometimes when you're a really good player and maybe you're a good offensive player, it's hard to coach. It's hard to transfer who you were as a player into other players. Sometimes it's the marginal player that's a better coach. The person that wasn't as good of a player because they saw the game from a different way. You think about Spalster from Miami, he was a film guy and became a great coach, right? So sometimes it's not always, it was hard for Larry to become a coach because he was a great player, right? It was hard for Magic to become a coach because he was a great player. People, you have such high expectations of people to ascend to your level that it's hard to transfer who you are into those particular players. So, as coaches, I think we have to look at the game, from a different perspective, and having a group of players around you. So Phil had defensive specialists, right? And he had offensive specialists. And so the Bulls were a defensive team, but they ran a triangle, right? And the triangle was a tough offense to defend because it was based on movement, and where the ball went and how you moved. And so that's why they went, and he ran that offense both with the Chicago Bulls and then when he went to the Lakers, right? It didn't work for the Knicks because he didn't have the same kind of players,
right?
But it worked for Chicago.
We were in a different era.
Yeah, it worked for them. Yeah. So you should have to just get to that place. So, as coaches, I would always tell people, and I was a student of the game, and I was also a student of the other team, and really studying like what the other team does. I told people my retirement job is to be a scout. Right? I would love to just scout a game, and that would be all I do, wear sneakers and sweats and scout. I told my boss if she ever fired me, I would just go to some coach and say, I'll volunteer scouting for you. That's just would be my dream job, Well,
yeah, let me say this too, is that, I think we are, there are players that are just killers. They born that way. Right? And
we're way beyond our time.
Yeah. We just... I was a born killer. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, that's what we do, right? We hate to lose at anything, right? That's the way we're programmed. It doesn't mean that you can't become a killer. I think LeBron over the years, he was first this Scottie Pippen, Magic Johnson type of guy, right? And I think over the years he had to become that because that's what people wanted from him.
I'm going to close out with this one thing, right? Is I love what you're saying. And as a competitor and as a killer, is transferring those competitive skills into your life force as far as going to work somewhere else, right? And so for me as an athlete, when I became a person that had to work, I took that teamwork mentality, that competitive mentality. I took all of that with me so that when I became a leader, I'm more of a coach at my job than I am when I was on the court. And so you take those things with you. And so that's what makes us strong. So thank you for what you brought to the table today. And for all of you brought comments, thank you. This was a basketball story. This was a basketball discussion. If you don't like basketball, basketball is life, and life has some things in it. There's in basketball, there's offense and defense. There's strategy. I used to tell people that when I was coaching that there were 3 things that I like in basketball too. I said geometry, chemistry, and chess. And they say, what do you mean? I said, well, geometry, basketball is a game of angles, right? And getting it in the right angle. I said, chemistry, because you have to have right chemistry on the floor to make it work. And chess, you always have to think about the team, the other team's next move, and you have to be one step ahead. And so you have to think differently. And so I used to use those as my discussion points, that I had to think about the angles, I had to think about the chemistry that I have on the floor, and I have to think about the strategy of the next team. And that's not just in basketball, that's in life. And so I thank you for sharing your expertise, your experience. It's been pretty awesome, even though you talked for a whole hour about life.
And I didn't get through any of my stuff.
Oh, listen, you did enough.
I got more stuff.
A lot of people. A lot of people.
If you want to come to the clinic, see me.
Come check us out. Next week, we have an interesting show. We just wanted to share you. We're going from basketball to babies. Right? So next week, we have 2 ladies from in different parts of this country, one in North Carolina, one in New York, and they specifically work on natural childbirth, home births. They are doulas. Sometimes they'll go into the hospital to sit with a mother, but they work in helping women go through childbirth. And both of them are special to me. and are really wonderful women. So join us on that show. Again, we're going from basketball to babies. This is a story. This is a podcast about life experiences. So we look forward to seeing you all next week. We see our son Omar on. We thank him. Thank God for him being in our life. Basketball brought him to our lives, and he's in our lives forever. So we're just so grateful for each and every one of you. Mike Hammett, basketball brought you into my life, and you're in my life forever. Brian, same thing. Our lives forever. Marsha, our lives forever. And so this is what it's all about. Basketball can give people and put people in your lives and be there forever. And so we're grateful for that. So Lowe's Moore, you are an exciting story. And boy, can you jump high? Well, you could back then.
Hold up. I still can get off the floor.
Okay.
Don't start talking no nonsense.
Yeah, I don't think they tell you a story about the time you tried to dunk on me and I pulled your shorts down.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
I was like, you're not going to dunk on me. Dunk on somebody else. Don't dunk on me. But truly, we're excited. So we hope you all have a blessed day, blessed evening, and have a great day off tomorrow. And you have a statement that you say at the end of every show.
Yeah, look, I love you guys. Man, thank you for your support, right? And I say this each and every week. Man, if God allow you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. I'll see you next week. God bless you.
God bless.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's Moore, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's Moore and on Facebook at Lowe's Moore Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.